What is going on, Pats Nation? You guys already know who it is. Patriots Global here, back with another video, and in this one, I want to try to shed some light. I want to try to help give some perspective to Pats Nation, maybe on why Bill Belichick and this New England Patriots front office is not making a lot of splash moves in free agency, why they look so bad currently, and if it is time to worry about this team or not. Now, before we get into this video, please make sure you guys leave a big like on this video, subscribe to the channel for all of your New England Patriots news, and comment below how you are feeling so far. It's only a couple of days of free agency. That's the first thing I want to say. We are very new into the new league here. Again, only 2-3 days in. There is a lot of time to still go. There's a lot of free agency to still go. There's a lot of players still on the open market within just the top 100 free agents. There's still the draft. There's still trades open. There's a lot to happen. Let's not freak out too soon, but let's hop in the video on why I think Bill Belichick is not going out and really making any free agent signings. Now, for the most part, the Patriots have brought back their own players. They bring back Juwan Bentley, they bring back Devin McCourty, they bring back James White, they bring back Matthew Slater, but they really haven't made much acquisitions in the sense of upgrading this team. Now, with that being said, they also did let go of some key guys. They let JC Jackson walk. They tried to let Ted Karras, or they tried to get Ted Karras to resign, kind of backed out of that deal a little bit. Now Ted Karras is with the Bengals. You also trade Shaq Mason to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and you're really getting rid of some of your top players, which is not ideal in any way, shape, or form. Now, that's not to say that the Patriots haven't made any free agent moves. They did sign Ty Montgomery, wide receiver / running back, made a video on him. They did make an addition at cornerback. Also, they signed Terrence Mitchell, also made a video on that. So it's not like Bill Belichick or this front office has completely ghosted free agency. Now, one of the big reasons that I think this team is very hesitant, at least to start, and that's my keyword, to start here at free agency, is because of comp picks. Guys, comp picks is a much bigger thing than a lot of people realize. Now, Joe Thuney walked last year. He was one of the biggest free agents on the board, especially coming to offensive line during the 2021 offseason. The Patriots tried to franchise tag him the year prior. Obviously, they did it successfully, but were not able to get a long-term deal done. Now, originally, the Patriots would have gotten a third-round pick back, a comp pick, because Joe Thuney signed a big contract with the Kansas City Chiefs. But because of what this team did in free agency last year, going on a complete U-Haul, bringing in Matt Judon, Hunter Henry, Nelson Aguilar, we can go down the list of the amount of huge contracts that they gave out this past offseason, that third-round comp pick canceled out because of the big moves that the Patriots were making in free agency. And I think Belichick looks at that. You look at the players that are already leaving you, and if the Patriots go out and they're making big splash signings, they're not going to get comp picks back. Right now, you are set to get a third-round comp pick, a high comp pick for JC Jackson, who went and signed with the Chargers. You're looking at getting a 5th to 6th round pick for Ted Karras. There's also still a lot of other free agents currently for the Patriots that have not been signed yet that could potentially still count for the Patriots with these comp picks. But if the Patriots go out, they're signing bigger, lucrative deals while comp picks are still in play. Those comp picks would cancel out, meaning that the Patriots would get absolutely nothing for JC Jackson, or the Patriots would get absolutely nothing in return for Ted Karras. Now, this comp picks formula, it doesn't last the entire season. It only lasts about a week or two. I don't have the exact date. I am working on trying to find that for you guys on when this whole comp picks formula doesn't matter anymore. But once that time comes up, once you can go out and sign any free agent on the open market, and it will not count against these comp picks, I do expect the Patriots to start making more moves because they don't have to worry about losing these draft picks for the 2023 draft. Now, my next theory here is that the Patriots are really focusing on this 2022 draft, and that kind of dips into my first theory about the comp picks. Again, if this team, if Belichick, the front office, they're really focused on the 2022 draft that will occur in April, then you want all the picks that you could possibly get, right? So with that being said, those comp picks either for 2022 or for 2023, which is expected to also be a good draft class, the Patriots don't want to lose those picks. They are going to try to compile as much as possible. Now, something else I've learned about this team is that when they made this big free agency splash just a year ago, Dave Ziegler was really the guy leading that. That was their backup general manager. That was the guy next to Bill Belichick really leading the pack. And he is a big free agency guy. Dave Ziegler, not so big on the draft, more bigger on free agency. As we all know, he left with Josh McDaniels. He's now the all-time starting general manager to the Las Vegas Raiders, who are absolutely going berserk in free agency right now, which makes a lot of sense. Now, the guy who took over that spot for Dave Ziegler would be Elliott Wolf. And now Elliott Wolf is really the opposite of Dave Ziegler. He's not so much free agency, not a big free agency guy. He's very, very big on the draft. Now, last offseason, when the Patriots were making this big free agency splash, again, that was Dave Ziegler. Now, once it got to the draft, that wasn't so much Dave Ziegler as it was Elliott Wolf taking over for the Patriots at that current time. Now, obviously, with Dave Ziegler gone, Elliott Wolf kind of being the lone man next to Belichick, this can make a lot of sense why they're looking so much. They're doing so much due diligence on this draft class. I don't know the last time I heard the Patriots doing so much for a draft class. So this could make some potential sense on why the Patriots aren't looking at going absolutely berserk in free agency, because they're very, very focused on doing their due diligence and making this the best draft possible. Now, do I agree with that necessarily? No. Now, because of the very limited money they have, maybe Belichick's looking and going, okay, let's get younger guys on cheaper deals that we can develop versus having to go out and sign free agents who are going to cost an arm and a leg. I will say in free agency, that is really where you're supposed to upgrade your team right away for the next season, as we're usually when you're drafting guys, you're developing guys over the next several years to become pieces for you and not guys you're expecting to be starting pieces right away for you that season. Now, this brings up my last point. A lot of people saying, well, why isn't Belichick doing what other teams have done? The Kansas City Chiefs, the Los Angeles Rams, the Buffalo Bills. Why are you not poaching from a couple years down the road? 2023, 2024, the cap space you have then, taking a little bit of that money and using it now because you're so tight up against the cap. Belichick is one of those guys who really doesn't do that. He does not like to restructure contracts. If he really has to, then he will, but he'll mainly release players, trade players to free up cap space. But usually, if Belichick has 10 million cap space, you'll probably work with 15 to 20 million. If you have 100 million cap space, he'll work with 100 million. He really does not like to maneuver that number around, and this could be like a 2020 season and a 2021 season. As we all know, the 2020 offseason, the Patriots had no money. Tom Brady left. The Patriots made really next to no moves, and the moves they made were very, very marginal. But for the 2021 season, they had about $60 to $80 million to spend in free agency, and they went berserk. This is kind of one of those situations. The Patriots only had about $15 to $20 million to work with this offseason for free agency, the draft, all of that good stuff to make additions to this roster for the 2022 season. In 2023, though, a year from now in free agency, the Patriots are currently projected to have $102 million to spend in free agency, the draft, ultimately having $102 million to spend in cap space. The year after that, they're expected to have well over $100 million yet again. So Belichick could potentially be looking at this saying, you know what, I don't have a lot of money this offseason, but in 2023, in 2024, I'll have more draft picks, I'll have a lot of money to spend, and that is when we will get even better. Again, I don't 100% agree with that. Take $20, $30 million from next offseason, use it now, start to make your team better so you're not falling down a slope. It seems like in 2020, this team went like this, 2021, they went like this. What, in 2022, are we going to go like this? And then 2023, going to go back up like this? You want to keep a steady, consistent basis with your team as much as possible, and you'll have well more than enough money to spend next offseason, even if you take $20 to $30 million from that right now. But at the end of the day, that's my perspective. Belichick, again, isn't these other head coaches, these young head coaches like the Rams or the Chiefs or the Bills. He doesn't really like to operate like that. And at the end of the day, this could explain why the Patriots aren't exactly spending as big, or at least making some additions that are going to help this team like a lot of us were hoping and expecting. But that's going to be it for today's video. What are your guys' thoughts on why I believe maybe the Patriots aren't making these big splash moves in free agency? Let me know in the comment section below. Let me know your thoughts. But like always, leave a big like on this video. Subscribe to the channel for all of your New England Patriots news. I'll catch you in the next one. Like always, though, go Pats.